Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. This time, we're taking a look at something that's really going to make you question what you think you know.
It really does, doesn't it?
We're talking about the Mandela Effect.
Right.
So we're diving deep into this book.
Okay.
It's called EFECTO Mandela. La explicación definitiva v2.pdf.
Oh, wow.
It's by Raúl Peláez Mendoza, and it explores why do groups of people have the same false memories? You know, like the whole thing about, remember how everyone thought Nelson Mandela died in prison in the 80s?
Yeah.
He actually became president and lived until 2013.
Wild, right?
It is wild, and we're going to cover all kinds of explanations for this.
Okay.
Some scientific, and then some that venture into like a whole multidimensional realm.
I'm intrigued.
So let's start with the explanations that are a little more, down to earth.
All right.
The book talks about how our memories, they're not perfect recordings, right?
No, not at all.
They can be influenced by things like suggestion, Right.
Or even shared cultural experiences can kind of shape them.
Right.
What do you think about that?
Well, think about it. Like, if misinformation spreads quickly, especially, now with the internet,
Yeah.
large groups of people can end up with the same, false memory.
Yeah.
It's almost like a collective illusion.
It's true. It is. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
It's easy to see how that could happen. But then where things get really interesting is when the book dives into some less conventional theories, right?
Right.
We're talking alternate realities,
Okay.
quantum jumps in consciousness, even like the idea of time manipulation.
Time manipulation.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think?
Well, these theories are definitely more speculative, but they're fascinating to consider. The idea of colliding parallel dimensions, for example.
Yeah.
It proposes that maybe some of us are tapping into memories from a reality where things happen differently.
Okay.
Like, for instance, maybe in another reality, Nelson Mandela did die in prison.
So, are we saying that there's a world out there where everything's the same except for these small, specific details?
Yeah.
And somehow our memories are, getting crossed with those realities?
That's the core idea behind the parallel dimensions theory.
Okay.
Then there's another one.
Okay.
It revolves around the concept of quantum jumps of consciousness.
Quantum jumps.
Yeah, those comes from, the realm of spirituality and metaphysics.
Okay.
And it suggests that we're all transitioning between different realities,
Okay.
which causes these subtle shifts in, what we perceive to be true.
So, are we saying, we're all quantum hopping through realities, picking up, bits and pieces of different memories along the way?
That's one way to visualize it.
Okay, that's a lot.
And then there's another one.
Oh, there's more.
Yeah, the theory of time manipulation.
Time manipulation.
This one suggests that advanced scientific experiments could be like altering the fabric of time itself.
Right.
And then that inadvertently affects our perceptions and memories.
Hold on. Are we saying that some secret science project might be messing with our collective timeline?
It's a theory.
And that's causing the Mandela effect?
Well, it's definitely a fringe theory,
Okay.
but it is interesting to think about the unintended consequences of scientific advancents,
Okay.
especially when we're dealing with the very nature of time and reality.
All right, hold on. I need to process all of this for a second. This is a lot. These ideas they're definitely out there.
Yeah.
But is there actually any basis in reality for them?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, from a scientific perspective, the most likely explanation is that these are, memory flaws
Okay.
or the result of cultural influences.
Uh-huh.
Our memories are malleable.
Right.
They can be easily shaped by information we encounter,
Yeah.
especially if it's presented in a really convincing way.
Right. So we have these more, grounded explanations.
Yeah.
Based on research, observable phenomena, things like that. But I gotta admit, the more out there theories, they're definitely intriguing.
They are intriguing.
I mean, if we assume that the Mandela effect is real, does the book say there's any chance that there's something more to it?
Well, it does explore some connections between the Mandela effect and more esoteric and metaphysical theories.
Okay.
It looks at the possibility that we might be connected to parallel realities.
Okay.
Or that, subtle dimensional shifts are happening all the time.
So it's not completely impossible that there's something more to it than just our brains playing tricks on us.
Exactly.
Okay.
While the scientific community might not fully embrace those ideas yet, The book leaves room for interpretation and personal belief, particularly when it comes to multidimensionality.
So where does that leave us? How are we supposed to make sense of all these different explanations?
Ultimately, it's up to each individual to decide what resonates with them.
Yeah.
The book doesn't offer a definitive answer,
Right.
but it encourages critical thinking and exploration. It invites readers to form their own opinions based on the evidence presented.
I like that. So we're not just passively absorbing information,
Right.
we're actively engaging with it,
Yeah.
questioning it,
Yeah,
even forming our own hypotheses.
exactly.
But let's play devil's advocate for a moment.
Okay.
What if the Mandela Effect is real and it's connected to like quantum phenomena or multidimensionality? What kind of implications would that have?
Oh, that's where things get truly mind-blowing.
Right.
It would require a fundamental shift in our scientific understanding
Okay.
and probably lead to a need for entirely new theories
Okay.
to explain how these reality-bending occurrences could be possible.
So we're talking like a scientific revolution on par with, say, Einstein's theory of relativity.
Potentially even bigger. We'd need to develop new ways of understanding how quantum mechanics, which typically describes the behavior of subatomic particles, could interact with macroscopic systems, like human consciousness and perception.
And so instead of just governing the tiny world of atoms,
Yeah,
quantum mechanics could actually be influencing our everyday experiences.
exactly.
That's huge.
The book explores the possibility that quantum phenomena, like superposition, might be able to amplify to a human scale. Remember Schrodinger's cat?
Oh, yeah.
The thought experiment where the cat is both dead and alive at the same time until we observe it.
Yes, the cat's fate is only determined when someone opens the box and looks inside.
That's superposition.
Right.
If we apply that concept to the Mandela effect, it suggests that maybe we're existing in multiple realities simultaneously.
Okay.
But our perception only allows us to experience one at a time. It's like our act of observation collapses the possibilities into a single reality.
Wow, okay, that's a lot to take in. So how would we even begin to, like, approach this new reality?
Yeah. What kind of new laws or theories would we need to develop?
Well, the book proposes some interesting ideas.
Yeah.
One is the need for what it calls quantum macroscopic physics.
Quantum macroscopic physics.
This would be a new branch of physics that bridges the gap between quantum mechanics and general relativity to help describe these multidimensional phenomena.
So we're talking about like a whole new area of physics.
Yeah.
Dedicated to understanding how the quantum world and our large-scale world are intertwined.
Exactly.
Cool.
The book also suggests the need for a fluid time theory.
Fluid time theory, okay.
This theory would allow for malleable timelines or coexisting realities,
Okay.
essentially rewriting our understanding of how time itself functions.
Time travel might not be so far-fetched after all.
Maybe, maybe not.
But wouldn't that completely upend everything we thought we knew about the universe?
It would definitely be a paradigm shift.
Okay.
Another area of exploration would be quantum collective interactions.
This delves into how quantum states could amplify to affect not just individual particles, but also biological and social systems. It could even explain how collective consciousness might play a role in influencing these reality shifts.
Okay, so the idea here is that our thoughts and beliefs could actually have a tangible impact on the reality we experience.
Yes.
That's a powerful concept. But let's be a little more specific about the author's actual hypothesis. What kind of mathematical model does he present to explain the Mandela effect?
Okay, so Raúl Peláez Mendoza proposes that our perception of reality is influenced by the interplay of different timelines, or parallel realities.
Okay.
And these interactions, much like the concept of quantum superposition, affect our perceived world before decoherence occurs.
So this decoherence thing, just so I'm clear,
Yeah.
it's like when quantum effects kind of fade away because they're interacting with the environment,
Yes.
kind of like a tuning fork losing its vibration.
That's a good analogy. And his model suggests that what we experience as the Mandela effect can be mathematically represented as a probability of transition between these different states of reality.
Okay, so he's trying to like quantify these reality shifts using math.
Yes.
Okay, and how does he do that?
Well, he introduces a mathematical framework
Okay.
using a few key concepts.
Okay.
First, there's the multidimensional state function.
Multidimensional state function.
This represents the state of a system our perceived reality as a superposition of potential realities.
So like all the possible versions of reality existing simultaneously.
Right. Then there's the transition matrix, or H, which symbolizes the interactions between these parallel realities.
So this matrix kind of shows how these realities influence and connect with each other.
Yes. And lastly, he uses an equation to show the probability of perceiving a shift, the Mandela Effect, from one reality to another.
So he's trying to assign a mathematical probability to these like reality jumps.
Yes.
Okay, so did he actually like test out his model?
He did, yeah.
He did. Okay, what'd he do?
He ran a numerical simulation based on this model,
Right.
using a simplified scenario of two parallel realities,
Okay.
just to see how the probabilities would change over time.
And what'd he find? Did the simulation show anything like interesting?
It did, yeah. The simulation showed that the probability of being in the initial reality fluctuates, suggesting that jumps between these realities are possible.
Okay.
It also indicated that these jumps could be caused by interactions between these realities, and that something called collective consciousness could potentially amplify these jumps.
Collective consciousness.
Yeah.
I've heard that term before.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I fully understand it though. Like how does that factor into all of this?
Imagine collective consciousness as the combined thoughts, emotions, and beliefs of a large group of people.
Okay.
It's almost like a shared energy field that emerges when enough people focus on the same thing. The book suggests that this collective focus could influence the probability of these reality shifts, making them more likely to occur.
So it's like we're all tuning forks, and when enough of us vibrate at the same frequency, we can actually shift the reality around us.
It's a fascinating concept.
It really is. It really is.
Think about moments of global crisis or celebration,
Yeah.
or even when a viral trend takes over the internet.
Yeah?
You can almost feel the collective energy, that sense of shared focus.
Right, like during the Olympics when like the whole world is watching and cheering for their athletes.
Exactly.
That's powerful energy.
It is.
So is the idea that this kind of collective energy could be powerful enough to actually shift us between realities?
That's what the model suggests. A strong collective focus could energize the connection between realities, making those probability shifts more likely to occur.
But if this collective consciousness is so influential, how could we measure it? Like, is there a way to quantify its effects?
The book proposes a collective consciousness index.
Okay.
It would track the intensity and number of people focusing on the same thing at any given time, almost like a global mood ring.
I love that. So with this index, we could analyze historical data, looking for correlations between like spikes in collective consciousness, say during major global events, and reports of Mandela Effect experiences.
Exactly. We could potentially see patterns emerge.
Yeah.
And even predict when these reality shifts might be more likely.
Wow.
It also opens up the possibility of conducting mass experiments where large groups of people intentionally focus on specific thoughts or intentions.
Okay.
To see if they can trigger measurable changes in perception.
That's it'd be like a global experiment in consciousness.
It would be fascinating.
This whole concept of like the quantum world impacting our everyday reality, it's mind-blowing.
It is mind-blowing.
But how do these complex quantum concepts translate into something we can relate to?
Yeah.
Like how do they manifest in our human experience?
Well, let's break it down.
Okay.
Let's compare some key quantum concepts to their potential human scale equivalents.
Okay, let's hear it.
All right, first, we have superposition. In the quantum world, it means a system can be in multiple states at the same time, like Schrodinger's cat being both dead and alive.
Right. Until we look, and then one reality becomes real.
Now, translate that to the human scale.
Okay.
Think about the conflicting memories or perceptions people report with the Mandela Effect.
Okay.
Like the Berenstain debate.
The bears. Yeah.
What if both spellings exist simultaneously in different realities?
Okay.
And our perception just chooses one when we think about it.
Okay.
Almost like our brains experience a superposition of memories.
Okay.
Where multiple versions of an event coexist.
That's a really thought-provoking way to look at it. So what about entanglement?
Okay.
I know that refers to like a connection between two particles no matter how far apart they are. What would that look like on a human level?
Imagine entanglement manifesting as a collective synchronization of thoughts or emotions.
Oh.
Like when you're with close friends and you all seem to be on the same wavelength, sharing the same feelings and ideas.
Yeah, like you're all mentally connected.
Right.
So it's not just about physical distance.
Wow.
It's about like a deeper connection that transcends space. That's pretty wild. Okay, what about decoherence?
If we apply decoherence to the human experience,
Yeah.
it could be the process of fixing a shared reality. It's like when a collective memory solidifies
Okay.
and one particular version of events becomes dominant.
So decoherence is like the moment when one possibility kind of wins
Yeah,
and becomes our shared reality.
exactly. And then there's the collapse of the wave function.
Okay.
The moment when a quantum system chooses a state upon observation. Think about it in the context of the Mandela Effect. It suggests that our perception might actually play a role in defining the reality we experience.
So we're not just like passive observers.
No.
We're active participants in
Yeah.
creating the reality we perceive. That's a big responsibility. What other quantum concepts can we map onto our human experience?
Okay, well, quantum interference is when different possibilities influence the outcome. On a human level, it could manifest as that collective confusion
Right.
or altered memory that's at the heart of the Mandela Effect.
Okay.
Then there's the transition matrix, which in quantum mechanics describes the interactions between different states. We could think of this as representing the connections between global events and alternate realities, as if major world events could be trigger points for these reality shifts.
So events like wars or natural disasters could be like cosmic crossroads
Yeah.
where realities intersect.
It's an intriguing idea.
Yeah.
Then there's the quantum state, representing all potential realities existing simultaneously.
Okay.
When we talk about amplified quantum amplitude,
Okay.
we're suggesting that collective consciousness might increase the probability of certain realities becoming dominant.
So our shared thoughts and beliefs could actually influence which realities are more likely to occur.
It's a possibility.
That's a lot of power. And what about the observer? The one who collapses the wave function in quantum mechanics? Who's the observer in this human scale reality?
In the context of the Mandela Effect, the observer is our individual perception. It's like we're each a mini-observer, constantly collapsing the wave function and shaping the world around us through our acts of observation.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And of course, we can't forget about quantum fluctuations. These are those tiny random variations that can lead to unpredictable outcomes in quantum systems.
So like chaos theory,
Yeah,
where a butterfly flapping its wings can cause a hurricane on the other side of the world.
exactly. And these quantum fluctuations could manifest as those unexpected events or glitches in our reality, like the Mandela Effect.
Okay, my brain is officially full.
It's a lot.
This is some seriously mind-bending stuff, but it's so fascinating to think about how these quantum concepts might be playing out on a larger scale,
It is fascinating.
influencing our memories and perceptions.
It makes you think.
Mm.
The book really encourages us to consider the vastness and interconnectedness of the universe and how much we still have to learn.
It's like we're on the verge of a whole new understanding of reality and our place within it.
I think we are. So are you ready to explore more about how these reality shifts might actually be detectable?
Absolutely. I'm still processing all those quantum connections, you know?
That's a lot to take in.
Yeah, it's like we've been peering through a keyhole into the multiverse. So these key objects that the author uses as indicators of reality shifts.
Right.
Tell me more about that.
Well, the author, Raúl Peláez Mendoza, he believes certain everyday objects can act as like barometers for these dimensional fluctuations.
Okay.
Think of items that are, super familiar and have very specific details that people might remember differently.
Okay.
He uses his own copy of Nirvana's Nevermind album as a prime example.
Okay, yeah, I remember him mentioning that. Something about a dollar bill appearing or disappearing on the cover.
Exactly. Depending on the reality he's experiencing, the dollar bill is either there, floating in front of the baby, or it's completely gone.
So this album cover acts as a sort of personal reality compass for him.
It does.
That's pretty clever, actually. Are there other examples of these key objects?
He mentions a few others that seem to be common triggers for Mandela Effect experiences.
Okay.
The Fruit Loops cereal box is a big one,
Oh, yeah.
with some people remembering it as Fruit Loops and others insisting it's always been Fruit Loops.
Yeah.
And the Ford logo is another one. Some people vividly recall a distinct loop in the F that doesn't actually exist.
I see. It's like a game of spot the difference, but for reality itself.
Exactly.
These subtle variations in everyday objects could be signs that we've shifted to a slightly different reality. But is there any way to move beyond anecdotal evidence?
Yeah,
Could we use these key objects to study the Mandela effect in a more systematic way?
I think so, yeah. The book suggests that we need to move beyond simply, swapping stories
Okay.
and start systematizing our observations. He recommends keeping detailed logs of these key objects.
Oh,
Note down any changes you perceive, the date, the time, your location, any detail that could be relevant.
so like a Mandela effect journal?
Yeah,
I bet people would get into that.
I think so too.
Yeah.
It could become a valuable resource for researchers. He also advocates for creating networks of observers who can share their findings.
Okay.
Imagine a global database of Mandela effect experiences.
Hmm.
By pooling our observations, we might be able to identify trends,
Yeah.
see if there are any correlations with geographical location or global events, and really start to understand the patterns of these reality shifts.
Wow, that's a great idea. Crowdsourcing reality research, I like it. And what about controlled experiments? Could we use those to study the Mandela effect as well?
Absolutely. Imagine setting up an experiment where you place these key objects in a controlled environment. You could have cameras recording them 24/7, sensors monitoring any changes, and you could even have a group of observers documenting their perceptions over time.
Yeah.
It would be fascinating to see if we could actually capture a reality shift in action.
That would be incredible. But beyond the scientific implications, what do you think the Mandela effect teaches us about the nature of reality itself?
I think it makes us really question some fundamental assumptions. The Mandela effect throws a wrench into our ideas about the stability and objectivity of reality.
Okay.
It's suggesting that perception might be a lot more fluid and subjective than we realize.
So you're saying it's not just about, misremembering things. It's
Yeah.
about the possibility that reality itself, like the very fabric of our existence,
Yeah,
is more, I don't know, more malleable than we thought.
exactly. And it raises the question of whether we are active participants in shaping our reality
Okay.
rather than just passive observers.
Yeah.
Our consciousness, both individually and collectively,
Hmm.
could be playing a more dynamic role than we ever imagined.
That's both empowering and a little terrifying.
It is.
If we're all shaping reality to some extent,
Yeah,
it means we have a responsibility to be mindful of our thoughts and beliefs.
absolutely. The Mandela effect encourages us to question our assumptions,
Mm-hmm.
to be more conscious of our perceptions, and to be open to the possibility that reality is more complex and multifaceted than we might realize.
It's like we're all explorers navigating uncharted territory, a multidimensional landscape where the boundaries of what we perceive as real are constantly shifting. It's exhilarating and unsettling all at the same time. So where do we go from here?
Right.
How can we approach this exploration in a way that allows us to learn and grow?
Well, the book emphasizes the importance of mindfulness,
Okay.
really paying attention to the details of our everyday experiences. It encourages us to engage all our senses,
Okay.
to notice subtle shifts in perception, and to be curious about what we might be missing.
It sounds like a call to slow down and really observe the world around us.
Yeah.
To pay attention to the little things that we often take for granted.
Exactly. And it's not just about observing.
Okay.
It's also about engaging in open-minded discussions, sharing our experiences, and listening to other perspectives.
Right. We can all learn so much from each other's, stories and insights. So what are some specific things we can do?
Yeah.
Maybe practices or techniques to enhance our awareness and maybe even trigger these reality shifts intentionally.
The book explores a few intriguing methods.
Okay.
There's something called reality surfing.
Reality surfing.
It involves intentionally shifting your focus back and forth between different aspects of your reality,
Okay.
noticing any subtle changes in perception or feeling.
So it's like mentally flipping through the channels of the multiverse.
Exactly.
Wait, I like that.
It's a way to train your mind to be more flexible
Okay.
and adaptable to different perspectives. Another technique is quantum journaling. This involves keeping a detailed record of your thoughts, emotions, experiences, dreams, and even your Mandela effect observations.
Okay.
Pay close attention to any synchronicities,
Yeah.
déjà vu experiences, or anything that feels like a glitch in the matrix.
That's interesting. It's like a Mandela effect diary, but with a more introspective focus.
Yeah.
I can see how that could be helpful in understanding your own personal relationship to this phenomenon. What else does the book suggest?
It also explores the power of intention and visualization.
Okay.
It suggests that by focusing our thoughts and intentions,
Yeah.
we can potentially influence the probabilities of certain realities manifesting.
So like a form of quantum manifestation where our thoughts and beliefs create our reality.
Exactly. It's about aligning your inner world with the outer world you desire to experience.
That's a powerful concept. But if we can actually influence reality with our thoughts, doesn't that raise some ethical concerns?
It does. The book is careful to emphasize the importance of using these techniques responsibly and ethically.
Oh,
The
yeah.
goal is to create a more harmonious and beneficial reality for everyone,
Right.
not to manipulate reality for personal gain.
Right. It's about co-creating a better world for all of us.
Exactly.
Not about bending reality to serve our own, selfish desires.
Right.
So what are some of the most mind-blowing Mandela Effect stories and theories that we'll be exploring in the next part of our deep dive?
Get ready for some truly wild ride.
Mm.
We're going to be diving into some specific examples of the Mandela Effect that have really captured people's imaginations.
Okay.
The Berenstain Bears, the Luke, I am your
Yeah.
father line from Star Wars,
Oh, yeah.
and even the geography of the world.
I can't wait. But for now, it's time for us to take another short break.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the Mandela Effect. We've gone through the science, the quantum connections, and even how our own consciousness might be shaping reality. But now it's time for the fun part. The actual Mandela Effect examples that make you go, like, wait, hold on, what?
This is the part where things get really interesting, when we look at specific instances where large groups of people have the same false memory.
Yeah.
So
So which Mandela Effect mystery are we tackling first?
let's start with a classic, one that's been debated endlessly online, the Berenstain Bears.
Oh, I remember that one. I used to love those books as a kid.
Yeah.
But I could have sworn it was spelled Berenstain Bears with an E.
A lot of people share that memory. It's become one of the most well-known examples of the Mandela Effect. The official spelling, of course, is Berenstain with an A,
Right.
but so many people vividly remember it differently.
So how do we explain this? Is it just a case of like mass misremembering?
Or is there something more going on?
Well, the book explores a few possible explanations.
Okay.
One is simply that the cursive font used on the book covers was easy to misinterpret,
Okay.
especially for young readers
Yeah.
who might not have been, super familiar with cursive writing.
Right. Right.
It's also possible that the name just sounds more natural with an E.
Yeah.
So people might have mentally corrected it
Okay.
to fit their expectations.
I mean, those explanations make sense, but they don't quite capture the intensity of the feeling that many people have about this.
Right.
It's not just a vague memory. It's like a deep conviction that it was spelled differently.
And that's where the more intriguing theories come into play. Some people believe that this discrepancy is evidence of parallel universes or alternate timelines.
So maybe in another reality, the bears are the Berensteins, and in our current reality, they're the Berensteins. And somehow our memories are like bleeding through from those other realities.
Exactly. Like our consciousness is kind of flickering between different versions of reality.
Yeah.
And we're catching glimpses of these alternate timelines where things are slightly different.
I'm starting to see how this connects to the quantum concepts we talked about.
Uh-huh.
It's like the Berenstain Bears are our real-life Schrodinger's cat,
Right.
existing in multiple states simultaneously.
Exactly. And while we might never know for sure what's causing these Mandela effects, exploring these alternative explanations can help us to challenge our assumptions and expand our understanding of what's possible.
Yeah, I agree. It's about keeping an open mind and being willing to question what we think we know. So what's another Mandela Effect example that we can dive into?
How about one from pop culture?
Okay.
The famous line from Star Wars,
Oh, okay.
Luke, I am your father.
Yeah.
A lot of people remember Darth Vader saying it that way.
Uh-huh.
But if you watch the movie, the actual line is, no, I am your father.
Oh, you're right. I've seen Star Wars countless times, and I always thought it was Luke, I am your father. Like, why is that so ingrained in our collective memory?
Well, it's probably a combination of factors.
Uh-huh.
The phrase, Luke, I am your father, it's just more grammatically correct.
Right.
It flows better.
Yeah.
It's also more dramatic
Yeah.
and impactful. So it's easy to see how it became, the preferred version in popular culture, even if it's not technically accurate.
It's like our brains are like trying to create a more streamlined and memorable version of the event, even if it means altering the details slightly.
Exactly. And this tendency to simplify and streamline might be even more pronounced when we're dealing with complex or emotionally charged events.
Okay.
Our brains are constantly trying to make sense of the world around us,
Yeah.
and sometimes that means filling in the gaps or creating narratives that feel more coherent,
Okay.
even if they're not entirely accurate.
So are you saying that the Mandela effect could be like a side effect of our brains trying to create order out of chaos?
It's a possibility.
Yeah.
And it also ties back to the idea of collective consciousness. If enough people share a particular memory or belief, it can take on a life of its own, regardless of whether it's factually accurate.
So our collective thoughts and beliefs can actually shape our shared reality.
Yeah.
That's fascinating, but also a little scary, to be honest.
It is, but it also, speaks to the power of human connection and the importance of being mindful of the information we consume and the beliefs we hold.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so we've looked at pop culture. Are there any Mandela effects that like affect our understanding of the world on a larger scale?
There are quite a few.
Yeah.
One that often comes up is the geography of the world.
Okay.
For example, many people remember South America being located further east than it actually is.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that one. People remember it being almost directly below North America. But on a map, it's actually quite a bit further to the east.
Right. And there are a few possible explanations for this.
Okay.
It could be
Mm-hmm.
that the way maps were presented in textbooks or on television shows created like a distorted perception.
Yeah.
Or it could be that our brains are just simplifying complex geographical information
Okay.
by aligning continents in a way that feels more logical or symmetrical.
Right. Our brains are really good at like finding patterns even where they don't exist. But what about like something even more fundamental,
Yeah.
like the human body?
Uh-huh.
Are there any Mandela effects related to anatomy?
There are a few, yeah. One that comes up is the number of ribs humans have.
Okay.
Some people remember learning that we have 12 pairs of ribs,
Okay.
but anatomically most humans only have 11.
Huh. That's interesting. Maybe it's a case of like confusing human anatomy with the biblical story of Adam and Eve,
Could be.
where God takes a rib from Adam to create Eve.
It's possible. Or it could be that we're just, not as familiar with the intricacies of our own bodies as we think we are.
That's a good point. It's a good reminder that even the things we think we know for sure might be subject to misinterpretations or distortions.
Right.
So after exploring all of these Mandela effect examples, like what are your final thoughts? What does this phenomenon tell us about ourselves and the nature of reality?
I think the Mandela effect it's a powerful reminder that reality is not as fixed or objective as we might believe.
Okay.
It's a fluid, dynamic, and often subjective experience. It's influenced by, a multitude of factors, including our individual perceptions, our collective beliefs, and perhaps even forces beyond our current understanding.
It's a humbling realization.
It is.
But it's also incredibly exciting. It means that, that we have the power to shape our reality,
Yeah.
to create a world that's more in alignment with our values and aspirations.
Exactly. And it encourages us to be more curious, more open-minded, and more willing to question everything we thought we knew.
This has been an incredible journey. We've explored so many fascinating concepts,
We have.
from like the science of memory to the mysteries of quantum mechanics
Yeah.
and the power of collective consciousness. I hope our listeners have enjoyed this deep dive into the Mandela effect as much as we have.
Me too. Remember, reality is a mystery waiting to be explored, and the Mandela effect is just one of many clues that point to the vastness and complexity of existence.
So keep those minds open, those perceptions sharp, and keep exploring the world around you with a sense of wonder and curiosity.
Yeah?
You never know what you might discover. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the Mandela effect. Until next time.